Okay, good morning. Thank you for joining those that are joining this podcast today. This one, we're going to be looking at your first chiropractic job. So, just after graduating chiropractic college, what key things should you look for when you're joining a new clinic? Because there are many aspects that are really important. And I would say I actually made a few mistakes when I first found my first job. And I think there is a list of things that you should have in your mind from most important to least important. And you're obviously never going to get the perfect job, but there are some things that I think you shouldn't compromise on, because it's just going to make it very difficult for you and then very difficult for the chiropractor you want to work for. So we'll just have a discussion about that, see what comes up, and then we'll probably list them in order of priority. And hopefully this will be helpful for you to find your first job, or maybe even your second job. So Endre, do you want to kick us off? Just to give a bit of background, actually, do you want to just say your maybe experience on finding a job? How many clinics have you worked for? How did that come about, etc.? What did you look for?
Yeah, so I've been very lucky. I started the place where I'm still at. I started straight out of uni. I knew for a long time I wanted to work here or in the clinic I work in, and obviously the timing has to be correct. Someone has to start before you can start, and there needs to be a room available and stuff. So I was lucky, and there was a room available and a place available in the clinic. So it's been good. Great mentor, great clinic, good patients flow, good new patients. So yeah, I've been very lucky. I've been in the same place for over 3 years now.
And so what was the main drawing factor for you? What was it about? Was it the clinic? Was it the person you're working for?
It was the person I'm working for, 100%. He's just a great chiropractor. His clinical reasoning you don't understand until a bit further down the line. At least I didn't. That's amazing, and his technique is really on point. So yeah, the reason I wanted to work in that clinic is because of this chiropractor.
Yeah. So, and my experience is a bit different. I've worked in too many clinics, been out only 4 years now. But I worked in, I don't know, probably about 4 clinics-ish, maybe even 5. And that was mainly because I looked for the wrong thing when I went for my first job. My first job, I liked the location because I wanted to stay in Bournemouth, and I also liked the fact it had X-rays and it had all the equipment set up, and the clinic itself looked all right. But the one thing I kind of neglected was the person I'm working for. And now looking back, I'd actually say that's probably the most important thing, particularly when you first graduate, because you really don't know that much when you graduate. And there's so many aspects, particularly in terms of communication, your kind of clinical skills, you're just not very good at. So you need someone to be able to just guide you. And that was definitely the thing that I missed. So yeah, I would say number one is find someone that you want to be like, I would say, would be the way of looking at it. If the person that you're working with, you don't actually want to practice like them, you're probably in the wrong place, because they say that your first 3-5 years are the years that you're going to be molded the most in the type of chiropractor you're going to be. And if you're working for someone that has completely different values to you, it might be like, for example, for me, the first job I worked for was the type of clinic where they wanted to treat 3 times a week for 4 weeks, 2 times a week for 4 weeks, 1 time a week for 4 weeks. And I just couldn't get behind that. Even if I was just to say, okay, I'll just do that, I didn't believe in it. And if I don't believe in it, it's not going to work for me. And so I think you have to be able to match your beliefs and values with the person that you want to aspire to, and that's the type of person then you can take advice from. Otherwise, because I found myself not being able to really take advice from him and direction, and I was kind of picking and choosing, and it didn't really work so well for me. So yeah, that's a big aspect, yeah, to finding a job. Is there anything else that you found that you really liked about your position, Endre?
Other than the mentor and the guy I'm working for, you said location. You chose your clinic based on location, and that was a mistake. But I definitely did choose partly because of location as well. Yeah, I wasn't going to live in Spain to practice.
Yeah.
I was always going to come home, got married, so I was going to come to this area. So yeah, I think that could be something you choose to do. And then you want patience. Like if you work for a great guy but don't see any patients, that sounds like a very hard job. Doesn't even sound like a job, does it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah. So, like, I think all the things that we kind of mention are all important, but I think the thing to remember is it's unlikely. Not saying it can't happen, but it's unlikely you'll get all of them perfect. It's like when you buy a house, you're never going to be able to tick all the boxes, or many things you might do in life. You're not going to get the perfect whatever it is. Same with a clinic, but of course you want to hit as many points as possible, and there are certain things you want to make sure you do hit. And so for some people, they'll be willing to go anywhere in the world because they know that they want to get the perfect mentor or the perfect type of clinic. And if like you have that one box that you want to get absolutely right, then and you're willing to sacrifice all the rest, then like for example location, then yeah, you're probably going to be able to get the better mentor most likely, unless which I think actually in your situation, Endre, actually you've been lucky to have someone that's really good and is in the right location, and that's as ideal, isn't it? What was the other thing that you said? You said something after that, after location. So it escaped my mind now.
No, I think that's mainly what I said.
Yeah, I was going to say something else there. Oh yes, yeah, the amount of patients. Yeah, so that's the other thing. Is I think when you graduate, you do want to be busy because you need to get experience and you need to get it fast. And the best way of getting experience is just being able to see a shed load of patients, really. But also, I think you need to be able to make a fair amount of money in the beginning, ideally, because there's probably going to be a lot of courses that you're going to want to do. And this is something I wasn't able to do when I first graduated because I was in a job where I wasn't getting paid very well at all, wasn't seeing very many patients. And so then I couldn't afford to go on many courses to better myself. I still went on courses, but not as many as I would have liked. And then particularly when you graduate, courses suddenly become much more expensive, but they're probably even more important than when you were at college because you're noticing more holes that you want to be able to fill because now you're actually in the real world. You actually see what you need to improve upon. So yeah, I'd say that is an important part. If you go to a clinic, great chiropractor, but you're only seeing like, I don't know, one new patient every 2 weeks, it's just not going to work. You're not going to survive. You need to be able to survive. There's kind of like a minimum, I think. But I wouldn't put it at the top of my list. I think there's a minimum amount of like business I would want to see in a clinic I'm joining, but I could kind of sacrifice that a little bit. Like, there's kind of a minimum amount of new patients, probably 4 or 5 a week. Depending on your kind of style, I guess, that I know that I need to have to be able to survive on. But then there might be a clinic, I'll be considering that has 10 new patients a week, and that seems good, but maybe the mentor is not as good, and so obviously then you balance that up and you think which one's more important. So we've got mentor, location, Like location is actually probably irrelevant for if you're looking at it in a very narrow-minded chiropractic job, but very important in regards to like lifestyle, because um like it's not all about, like, your life isn't all about chiropractic. Maybe some people it is, but you do have other aspects. You do have your wife or your husband. You have community, church, whatever that looks like for you. um, you have your family. So uh, yeah, I mean, some people I know that they will sacrifice all of that, and will just move wherever they need to be. And to be fair, like if you're going to do it after graduation and you think, well, first few years I'll sacrifice that, and then I will put that back at the top of my list because I just want to get good first, get myself started. And actually, that's, if you can do that, that's actually really good. That's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think the most important is though the mentor
Yeah.
that can teach you how to do this job well for a long time.
Yeah. And so what question is, how do you find a good mentor? How do you find how do you get exposed to, or how do you find a good mentor?
That's a challenge, isn't it? I guess, yeah, how do you find, you need to yeah, I think observing chiropractors when you're a student, to observe as many chiropractors as possible, to see different ways of practicing and communicating and doing the job is really helpful. Obviously, you don't see the full picture if you're observing someone for 2 or 4 hours or whatever. But I think that's very important. And then go to seminars. You work for someone that used to teach you seminar, and the guy I'm working for used to do seminars, and that's kind of how we both learned of them. So I guess the more seminars you go to, the more chiropractors you'll meet, both that's taking the seminars but also chiropractors that's doing the seminars.
Yeah. You know, I went. So in my mind, there's kind of two types of seminars. You've got the seminars that are like the one we're doing next month. That's like dedicated on teaching you one thing. So for us, it's teaching Gonstead adjusting, and then you've got the chiropractic conferences, the BCA conference, the Lion seminar. The you can tell I haven't been on many conferences because not many are coming to the top of my mind. But what I realized, because I went to, I think this is the first kind of chiropractic conference that I've been to, was last weekend, and kind of it made me realize that I should have been going on them a lot earlier, because one of the things that I really realized that was so good about it, and if you're a student, I would recommend go to as many of these as possible. Firstly, because they're normally dead cheap when you're a student. But the big thing that I got from it was there are a whole range of chiropractors at these conferences. Now, some of the conferences are going to be like, for example, if it's UCA, they're kind of probably going to be more towards the for a lack of a better word, more like maybe the vitalistic side of chiropractic, more the innate intelligence, nervous system, upper cervical, that type of thing. And so therefore, you're probably going to get them more of that type of chiropractor. But for example, the seminar I went to last week, there was a whole range. You had upper cervicals, you had mechanistic, you had vitalistic, you had people talking about all sorts of different things. We even had someone that wasn't a chiropractor speaking on finance, and he's just used to helping people with their finance and accounting and that sort of stuff, and for chiropractors. So he spoke. It was very boring, but actually it was very useful. And so I met a whole range of different chiropractors. And if you're particularly if you're in that boat where you're not sure where you land in terms of what you believe and where your values lie in chiropractic, this is a great seminar, because you're going to meet all sorts of people, and you might meet someone you think, oh, you know what, I didn't actually think I wanted to be that type of chiropractor, but this seems really interesting. Maybe I'll go and observe this person, or maybe I'll go to their seminar. For example, I went to a shoulder seminar. Can't remember the guy's name now, but really interesting chiropractor. And it made me think, you know what, I didn't think I would like this, but it's actually really interesting. And now I'm thinking I might go do a seminar. And I was also thinking, you know what, if I was graduating now, I may even consider working with this guy, because he is the type of chiropractor I think I quite like, and I wouldn't mind being like. So, but if you only went to, say, Gonstead seminars, you're probably going to meet people that really like Gonstead. And if that is definitely, that's your line where you want to go, then you're probably going to meet a lot of relevant chiropractors for you. But if it's, if you're not sure, then you're going to get a kind of a biased view on it. So yeah, I found that interesting. Well, it was quite funny because there was, they had a series of talks, and sometimes, chiropractors can say things that contradict the other person. So where there's one chiropractor on, and she was talking about I suppose neurology of the neck, and she was a bit more into I suppose, again, to use a lack of better of a word, like innate intelligence and vitalistic this kind of sense of chiropractic, and talking about how the neck can kind of cure everything. Well, not quite cure everything, but has a major importance. And then we had the next chiropractor that came on and was more in terms of functional neurology, and he was talking about cervicogenic dizziness, and you could tell, I mean, he was a very good speaker, but you could tell he was trying not to just overtly contradict the previous talk, which was quite funny, which you just don't that's a good sign, I think, of a healthy conference, because you're getting a whole variety of people. They're not trying to what's the word, censor who's allowed to speak on what topic. They're actually saying, you know what, okay, they're not going to, not literally anyone, but they're going to get, let's get a whole variety of chiropractors, different perspectives, and then let the student believe what they which avenue they want to go down. So that was my long-winded way of saying, go to conferences, and then you get a better idea on who you can observe. But yeah, you need to get exposure, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the exposure. I think that's the one word.
Yeah,
exposure to as many chiropractors as possible.
Yeah. So I think, I think we'll probably both agree, won't we, that the number one thing you want to look for when looking for a job is the person, not the clinic. And then all the other aspects are going to be kind of secondary, and there are going to be other important aspects as well. But I would say get the person, find the right person, and then look at the other aspects. Is there anything else you want to add to that, or?
No, yeah, I think that's correct. I remember we had a conversation with Pete, who was this older guy. He was in his 40s, working with leadership skills in the corporate world. We're just about to graduate from university, and talking to him about how to choose your first job. And he said he always told people there's two things of main importance. It's find a good mentor, find something cool to do.
What do you mean by the second point?
You want to have cool, you want to have fun job, an interesting job. The subject and the job you do, you need to be interested in it. And as a chiropractor, your job is going to be interesting. So then the most important thing is your mentor.
And that probably applies with most jobs, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, he was talking about most jobs.
Right, not specific to chiropractic. Yeah, I can see that applying for any job. I mean, if you want to be a good lawyer, work with a good lawyer. That phrase that says you become like the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with is very true. I mean, you become much more like your wife or husband. So therefore, it is important to choose the right people that you're going to surround yourself with. Because you will get influence, even if you think you're not going to. Spend enough time with someone, you'll get influence in different directions, and so you want to make sure you're getting influence in the right way, not in the wrong way. So yeah, good. Okay. Well, if there's any questions anyone has, feel free to put it down in the comments below, or get in contact with us. We are also running seminars at the moment, so if you want to learn more about Gonstead or adjusting, get better at adjusting, these are obviously in the UK, in Bournemouth. So yeah, again, let us know. Yeah, good. All right. Well, until the next one.